This evening's talk is what is an organic human activating rainbow DNA. When they asked me to come and talk at Highcliffe, a New Forest Positive Living Group, and asked me what I was going to talk about, I really had no idea, actually. And at the time, I had just brought forward some channeling. I just was in the middle of that, actually, just completing that when I got the email. And so I just decided to make the talk all about the channeling I brought forward at that time, which was the organic human and the rainbow, activating rainbow DNA. And this was 6 months ago. So I feel that that particular piece of channeling was specific not only for the video that I uploaded to my YouTube site, but for tonight. So I'd just like to go back slightly, a little bit, and just tell you briefly what I do. I know some of you here already know, and some of you will have heard me talk before, but for those of you who don't know, going back to around 1993, I had what's known really as a spiritual awakening, or Kundalini awakening, or whatever you want to call it. It wasn't that I specifically wanted to take a spiritual path in life at that time. These things happened, and it was very much a result of what I call now, or what I used to call a crash down. If you're familiar with the tarot deck, you'll see that in the tarot deck there's a card called the Tower. And it's a very good card because it represents rebirth, but what it also represents is a complete falling down of everything and then a rebuilding. You'll see the tower will often be depicted as a crumbling building and then the bricks being rebuilt. That's what happened to me, really, without going deeply into that story. I sort of had a crash down at that time, so I got divorced, I left the home, I left all my belongings, I left with a suitcase and a few bin liners of things, and just thought, what am I going to do with my life? And then things started to rebuild, and it got to the point where I actually remember saying to myself, when this synchronicity, I now know is synchronicity, at the time, these unbelievable coincidences that were very much in alignment with the decisions I was making. So if I made a bad decision, bad things were happening to me. When I made a good decision, and I know there's no bad or good, but this is how I perceived it at the time, then these amazing things would happen to the point that it was so ridiculously unbelievable. It was almost as though my life was being orchestrated by some higher being, some puppet, something that could see me. I actually remember saying, is there someone up there doing this to me? Once I started to make that communication, then obviously these things started to happen more and more, and I took note of all this. And a series of synchronicities led me to a situation where I did start to look into spirituality, and I started to visit spiritual churches, and then I specifically decided that I wanted to do what is known as channeling and meet my spirit guide. So, cutting a long story short, I read a book on channeling. It was all about going into a meditation where you would meet your spirit guide. So after several meditations, I finally made this connection in meditation with this true guide after meeting several other beings that were not true guides. The difference was, and all this is a metaphor for what's going on in your own body, the difference was that when I was meeting these other beings that were not true guides, everything was visual, everything was very clairvoyant, everything was all within my sight, my inner sight. When I actually met the being I now know as my true guide, instantly something opened up and it became feeling. That's how I knew. The visuals that I was getting in meditation took on an emotional quality, and I started to feel everything. That's when everything really sort of connected for me, and I connected with this guide, this being. And I could only connect with him in meditation at the time. I'd have to go into meditation, connect with him, ask him the question that I needed to ask him, and then I'd have to come out of meditation, and I was living with my brother at the time, and he was asking tons and tons of questions. He'd been studying all this Zen Buddhism and quantum mechanics and goodness knows what. So he was asking me all these questions that I had no understanding of. I'd go into meditation, connect with my guide, come back out, tell him the answer. And one day he asked me something really complicated, and I'm like, am I even going to remember this question? And then all of a sudden, my guide was there, and I was awake with my eyes open. And I couldn't understand how he could be there, because previously I'd only had to go into meditation to meet him. And I remember saying to my brother, he's here. I can see him, I can feel him. And so that's when channeling, if you like, started. And this was back in 1993. And then over that time, this particular being, which presented as one entity, evolved into a group of beings and presented very much as angelic-type beings. There was one originally, and then it merged into, and I counted, and there were 9. And then beyond this form of a white-winged presentation, they would change and be sometimes human, and sometimes they would just be in jeans and a t-shirt. Other times they'd look like goddesses. And then I would ask them why they kept changing and shifting form, and they would say, do you want me to show you our true form? And I would say yes, and then I would start to see light and colour and geometric shapes, and all the time feeling with them. So when they were human, it would be like I would feel like I was speaking to another human being. And when they were angelic, it would be like a higher, sort of deeper energy. And then when they were these geometric forms and all this colour, it was an even more intense energy. So this is what's been going on since '93. And one thing they did tell me back in '93, the one entity, was I was having an amazing situation back then, lots and lots of synchronicity. Daily, every day, new synchronicity, and I was reading books and learning, and it was just like a whirlwind of just life that I'd never known before. I couldn't believe I could even maintain this amazing life every day, joy and happiness and synchronicity and learning. And he said to me, this entity, because I was involved in drama at the time, and I'd done drama for most of my life since I was a child, he would say to me, what you're going through now is a dress rehearsal. I say, oh, okay, because a dress rehearsal is quite important, really. So when's the show? We will let you know when it's performance time, when it's show time. We will tell you. Right now, this is a dress rehearsal. It's not the real situation. What is this situation? Well, they were talking about a change taking place on this planet. They called it the ascension process. I mean, most of you here are probably fully aware of the change, the 2012 energy, and speakers have been talking about this for a long, long time. So this is what they were telling me about this change in consciousness. Humanity would start to wake up, they'd start to see things differently, they'd start to be displeased with the way the system was, they would want changes, and there were many, many individuals who'd known this right since childhood and were kept away from others that were like them. And there would come a time when all these individuals would meet and grow in strength and start to do what they came here to do. So all these things, and it was very exciting, and I couldn't wait, and I thought, 3 months, 6 months, how much longer? And it got to the point where I never did hear this, it's showtime, until 2008. So from 1993 to 2008, there were many times when I'd kind of given up and thought perhaps it was a bit of a silly moment, and I was imagining the whole thing. So in 2008, by this time I'm with these 9 winged white beings, which I affectionately call the white-winged collective consciousness of 9. I now know that's the longest name for any guide that's out there, but that's what I saw them as. And they just casually said, do you remember when we told you that it was a dress rehearsal? And I'm like, yes. But I thought this would never come. Well, it's showtime. I said, well, what? What, now? Like, today? Well, now. In this time period. What do you want me to do? What do I have to do? And they said it's time to go public. Now up until this point I've been quite private about my channeling, about my connection with the 9. A few close friends knew, 1 or 2 family members. Some family members had no idea. Lots of friends I've known for years had no idea. And I'd done a few readings, a few tarot card readings for people. It was just all sort of, a hobby. It was something that I kept very private, and I had no intention of telling people, because I thought, well, everyone will think I'm crazy. So when they said go public, I said, you mean you want me to tell people that I'm a clairvoyant and that I'm psychic and I'm a medium and that I talk to you? Yes. Who do I need to tell? Like, everyone, you know. I'm like, what? And so they talked about the Great Gathering, and that many others who had been in contact with their guides as well were being told the same thing. All across the world, these individuals were being told it's time to go public, it's time to connect with the others. So I said, well, where are they? And they pointed, they gestured to the internet. So I'm like, ah. So I started hunting around, looking for groups, and found a few people, but I didn't really understand that what they meant was for me to teach on the internet. I was actually looking for a group to meet these people. And when I released my first video in 2008, it was kind of an experiment, really. I hadn't got any plan that I was going to be releasing teaching tools and activation tools in the form of video. And to cut a long story short, I started releasing my first video in 2008, and then people were interested, and they started emailing me, asking questions, and so I started releasing more, and then the channeling was coming on a daily basis, waking up in the middle of the night, and there'd be more information there, and I couldn't get it out quick enough. My partner Daniel was making all the videos for me. He couldn't keep up with them, so he said, I'll have to teach you how to make a video, so he did, and I did learn, but my ones are nowhere near as good as his, so I've given that editing job back to him now because he's so much better than me, and the channeling has eased off. It's not every single day. It would be if I wanted it to be, but you have a connection with your guidance system, and you make the rules as well. You know, if they're waking you up at 3 in the morning, that energy's always there. They don't know it on a physical level that it's 3 o'clock in the morning, so you have to say, hey guys, I need to sleep, or talk to me in the morning, or let's do this another day. So during this time, from 1993 and before that, I had many visions of the future, things I didn't really understand. I mean, one was me sitting with headphones on, talking to people all over the world, mostly in America, and I knew that these people were in America. And I thought I was going crazy, because I'd never worn headphones except to listen to my record player. How on earth would I be talking to people all over the world, mostly in America? Maybe I'd go on the radio, I don't know. Well, of course, all that's come true. I mean, we all have headphones, and we can all speak to people all over the world in America. We all have Skype, and we all have access to YouTube and Blog Talk Radio and all the amazing things on the internet. But I want to specifically get to this particular channeling about the organic human and the activating rainbow DNA. So I've had 2 visions regarding working with the rainbow. Didn't understand what they were at the time, and I'm sure all of you, anyone who goes through a spiritual awakening, will have had this happen to them. You will have had signs, visions, knowings, and it's not for several years before you think, now I know what that was, now I know what that vision was, that dream was, now I know what that thought was. Or it may be that you think to yourself, now I know why I took that course, now I know why I read that book, now I know why I went to that place. Everything falls into place, everything seems as though it's absolutely mapped out for you, which it is, and it really starts to make sense once you become aware. So 26 years ago, in 1988, I was married at the time, and I was reading lots of romance novels, historical romance, Mills and Boon, that sort of thing. And I just decided one day, I just knew that I was going to write a book. And I remember telling my husband, and I said to him, I'm going to write a book, I just know it, I just feel inside that I'm going to write a book. And for some strange reason, he believed this vision more than I did. And he went out and bought me a typewriter. I thought, right, I'm going to write this book. And I knew, I didn't know how I knew, I had a vision of this book. It had a rainbow on the front cover, and the word rainbow was in the title. So I thought, well, I'm reading historical romance, so I'm going to write a romance. I'd never had any writing training. I was only, I think, 20-something, 21, 23, I don't know, at that time. It was 26 years ago. So I started typing, and I had these amazing stories in my head, but when I read what I'd written, it was like, you know, John met Mary, and they really liked each other, and they went to the shop, and I thought, oh, this is awful. So I was throwing it away. In the end, I just gave up. And I thought, you know, I really thought I was going to write a book. I really thought there'd be a rainbow on the cover, and that rainbow would be in the title. And I sort of never forgot that deep knowing, but it never did come to anything. And to this day, I actually haven't written a book. I am in the process of writing one now. Maybe there will be a book, maybe rainbow will be in the title, and maybe there'll be a rainbow on the front cover. And if I do ever write a book, I will intend for that to be so in order to complete that cycle, because we do create the culmination of our own visions. But I am working with the rainbow energy through the videos and through the connection with the nine and the channeling and what it all means. I also had another sign. This was in 1992. I'd never seen a psychic before. I was quite troubled. This was around the time that I had this crash down. So I went to see this psychic, and I was, pretty down, but also very hopeful about life. I've always been like that, really. And she was really, I guess one could say, an amateur psychic. She didn't do it professionally. She was very good, but she was getting things she didn't understand. And she started to do this reading for me, first reading I'd ever had, and she said, "Oh, this is strange. I'm getting something really different for you. I don't normally see things like this." She said, "I'm seeing there's a rainbow building around you. It's just started now, and it's going to build all around you until it moves into a whole circle." And I'm thinking, oh, goodness me, what is she talking about? I have no idea. And then she said, "I'm getting in my head, rainbow warrior, rainbow warrior." Now this is when she was channeling. What new channels often do, and I myself did the same thing, is we pick up the words, the clairaudience, we see the visions, the clairvoyance, we feel the feelings, the clairsentience, and then we go and translate it with our own third dimensional interface, which is the brain. The nine have since taught me, whenever I interpret, don't interpret. Give the person the pure energy. Give them the feeling, the image, the sound. But she interpreted, as many do, and she said, "Rainbow Warrior, I know what that means. That's the name of the Greenpeace ship. You're going to be involved with Greenpeace." Okay. So I never have actually been involved with Greenpeace, but she was right. There was a rainbow building around me, and I am definitely a rainbow warrior, as is everyone else here. So these were my two signs about the rainbow. So when I wrote up the information about this talk tonight, I wrote down a few questions. What is an organic human? How does this benefit or affect our lives and the lives of the wider community or global reality? What is rainbow DNA? And how is this activated? Well, these questions are answered in that particular video. So I'm not going to play the video to you, but I do have the transcript. So I'd like to read that to you and then go through it and talk about it. So I'll be as quick as I can reading through this. The organic human is an individual who lives in harmony with the earth and cosmic energies. This can be defined as an individual who follows their alignment. The feeling of being in alignment with cosmic forces and thus with nature and the natural world. The feeling of finding one's inner peace, following one's inner and cosmic guidance. It feels right. It feels like coming home, like all systems are in balance. The state of the organic human in alignment is not usually held continuously. For as natural or cosmic forces move in and out, or rather they move forward in a multidimensional rather than a linear growth pattern, so too does the organic human being. There are challenges on all levels that come into the realities of the organic human, but these challenges are integrated, processed and worked through, and they are learned from. They are not buried or ignored. To bury or ignore is in many ways the easy path, if you will, from the third dimensional perspective. The organic human is always evolving, and the challenges, when integrated, act as boosters to that evolutional growth. The organic human is simply the blueprint for the way the human was designed to be, or rather, has evolved within balance to be. This is simply the state of being a guardian of the planet Earth, or at one with the planet Earth. Organic human beings will naturally gravitate towards anything within their realities that is natural. They will have an indescribable fondness and connection with nature. They prefer the wild, natural areas within nature rather than the man-cultivated spaces. Yet the great outdoors, if you will, and all that entails, beckons them always. They have a love and compassion for animals that goes far and beyond that of a non-organic, out-of-balance human. The organic human sees animal life as at one with the greater soul, the one soul, and therefore at one with themselves. They bring this love and compassion for animals into their realities on a daily basis, expressing within a linear time frame the energetic patterning they hold within their souls. They are ethical eaters and are very often vegetarian or vegan or hold similar ethos. These organic humans that do consume animal flesh do so through honouring ancient ritual, ethical living. All organic humans are in touch with the higher self-construct and are able to access the Merkaba matrix fields. Again, this does not occur constantly but moves in and out in a state of flux. Each organic human manifests the connections within the higher self-construct in their own unique ways. The integration of life's challenges and learning experienced from these creates the switching on, if you will, of a certain DNA codon within. There is no scientific name necessarily for this DNA codon within on your planet Earth at this time. Just know that this is the out-of-time, multidimensional aspect that we speak of. The most appropriate name or label that we can give this codon from our perspective would be that of the rainbow DNA codon, or rainbow DNA. The reason for this is from source perspective, this codon, when activated, looks, feels and sounds like what you would know as a rainbow. In truth, it is a spectrum of light, light being information, personality and life force. Light as in rainbow light being source within, if you will. When the rainbow DNA codons are activated, the individual is one we would refer to as an organic human being. This is the true blueprint, the accurate design for the human being. The systems and setups in place on your planet Earth serve to block the activation of the rainbow DNA. Yet those who created these systems and setups did not account for the great many organic humans that have incarnated with memory intact, if you will. By memory intact, we mean the rainbow DNA codon precursors. This is a certain pattern, lying not dormant, not buried, but seeded. This is the closest metaphor we can give for this process. Seeded, without soil, sun or water, yet seeded, embedded within the ancient crystalline structures within the human physical matrix. All it takes is a little soil, sun and water to pour into that inner crystalline landscape for the seeds, the rainbow seeds, to flourish and grow, thus activating the rainbow DNA. No system, no setup, no mind waves or broadcasts can prevent organic rainbow technology when the precursor, the seed, the intact memory, is in place at the point of incarnation. A great many of you for many, many years upon your earth incarnated with the rainbow seed in place. Many of you did not find the soil, the sun or the water, yet your children, following the genetic blueprint that you held, incarnated with the daughter seed in place, a perfect holographic copy of yours. And a great many of these children did find the soil, the sun and the water, and they activated the rainbow DNA. Now, in your year of 2014, from our perspective, the amount of organic humanity holding the rainbow light DNA codes is at a critical mass level. This creates the rainbow bridge on a global level, indeed on a cosmic level. Each organic human plays their part in this. each standing next to the other, creating change with their light, healing and activating others, and creating new systems and setups on your planet that are built to hold and nurture the new incoming rainbow souls. Born with seeds already planted, already watered, and with memory intact. These are the organic humans. And indeed, to you who hears our words now, these rainbow souls are you. We are the white-winged collective consciousness of 9. So that's the information that came forward. By this time, 2014, a lot of the channeling, I mean, most of it from the beginning was similar, but in the beginning it was about the soul's journey, about reincarnation, but it's evolved to become incredibly metaphoric, to the point now where it's mostly metaphor. People have asked me the question, why do you speak in metaphor? The reason for this is there is a cosmic language. We know this is the language of light. This is a blueprint, if you like, for all reality. It's not just on this planet, it's on all planets. And this blueprint can be communicated with. It's a living force, but we can access it to bring forward information. But each one of us accesses it in different ways. And with me personally, it's very much a communication. Many of the frequencies that I pick up from the 9, which are visual, sound and feeling, there aren't words to explain these processes within our human language. Because the processes are multidimensional processes, to use one sentence, one phrase, one word, takes it down to just one thing. And this is a multi-perspective. One needs to look at a whole layer of information, many layers of information, in order to teach this. So metaphor is used. And metaphor does another thing as well. The language of light is universal, meaning we all understand it. We might not understand it on a linear processed level. This is the human third-dimensional interface that we know as the brain. It's built to make sense of this world and process it in a linear third-dimensional way. And good that it does, otherwise we'd all be going crazy. That's what our brain is there for. But we can include the brain and partly bypass it, if you like, and work with just the feeling. So these metaphors, we all know, they are embedded into this cosmic field, if you like. Many know this as the field, the divine matrix, the Akashic records, the mind of God, the mind of Source. I can go on and give this energy so many different names. We've been using metaphors since the beginning of time. If we look at the Bible, it's full of metaphor. If we look at many very famous playwrights, for example, Shakespeare, his work's full of metaphor. We look at poetry, there's metaphor everywhere. Leonardo da Vinci's paintings, metaphor within the visual. We have metaphor formed in matter left here for us, the crystal skulls. We ourselves as humans are metaphors. We're metaphor for Source. Everything is metaphor. So metaphor is used to explain these concepts, but metaphor is used for communication. So, for example, I might be talking about the crystalline palace with a rainbow stream of light above it. That might sound like a pretty fairy story. That might sound like a really nice visual. But your DNA knows exactly what it means. We're talking about the chakra system. We're talking about awakening. We're talking about changing the patterning of the brain itself and activating the DNA. And when I talk about the DNA, scientists, when they look at our DNA, look at 5 or 10%. This gives them the genetic information that they need about what colour hair we're going to have and what talents we may display, that sort of thing. And beyond that 5 or 10%, they call it junk DNA because they simply don't understand it. That junk DNA is the rainbow DNA. That's out of time, it's non-linear, it's multidimensional, it is Source itself. If you want to know where God is, that's where he is. He's in your DNA. He, it, they. So everybody can communicate with this oneness. We're all part of the same fabric. So when I give a metaphor of a crystalline palace with a rainbow above, everyone is getting that same information. The DNA is being spoken to, and even if the processing is thinking, what's all this? You know, this is a bit nuts. The DNA is activating. Even within people who perhaps might listen to you speak or might watch one of my videos and switch off and think, you know, this is crazy. They've still been activated, and that seed has been watered, if you like. So I'd like to go through and talk more about the metaphors and what they mean, but also add that you don't have to understand them. You don't have to process them. Some individuals really like to understand the metaphor. I do. Some individuals are very analytical. These are very much indigo individuals. They hold a particular vibrational ray. There are others more crystalline, more crystal. They're very much about feeling, they're very much about healing and being. They don't really need to process and understand. If you have a desire to process and understand, if you want to know what this metaphor means, then you're probably an indigo, and they're more sort of scientific in their thinking, if you like. A lot of people laugh at me when I say I'm scientific, when I talk about rainbows and guides and angels, because in many minds that doesn't seem to go together, but of course it very much does. So I'd just like to go through talking about the different metaphors within that particular channeling that came through. So the first line, the organic human is an individual who lives in harmony with the earth and cosmic energies. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Earth and cosmic energies, individuals who connect to the earth, and they don't have to be spiritually aware. These individuals might be people who protest against roads being built across the countryside. They might be involved in animal rights. They might be an advocate for veganism. They might hate New Age, light worker, indigo kind of energy. They might stay well away from it. Doesn't mean they aren't one. Doesn't mean they're not doing the work. Doesn't mean they're not living within the light. It comes to all of us when we start to awaken in many different ways. So we're all guardians of this planet. And living a life in alignment, I mean, what does that mean? When I first learned about alignment, I was very much learning about resonance, and I didn't understand what resonance was. I used to call it the yes feeling, because I would have this feeling. We can all have this. If I say to myself, my name is Magenta, or my name is Petra, my spiritual name is Magenta, my YouTube username is Magenta, my work name is Magenta, my magical name is Magenta, but my birth name is Petra, so they're both true. So I can say my name is Magenta, and I will get a feeling of truth, a yes feeling. My name is Petra, I will get a yes feeling. But if I say my name is Janet, that doesn't feel like a yes feeling. That's like, oh, that's not true. So this is a really simple exercise to teach us how to find that alignment. And we can practice with this. We can keep saying, my name is, and try all these other names, and just really take note of that feeling. Then you can start asking other questions like, this food is good for me. I need to take this job. I need to go out and have a relationship with this person. All these things. So this is the resonance within. And when you follow that, because we are taught, in the channeling it talks about the systems and setups are designed to block the activation of the rainbow DNA. Our system is not set up for us to follow our yes feeling. We look at children waking up in the morning, I don't want to go to school today. They're not necessarily being naughty. The inner resonance is telling them that they don't need to sit in a classroom and study some subject that they have no interest in. They'd be far better off in the garden, picking flowers, making a daisy chain, working with plasticine, awakening to energies, baking cakes, whatever it is they want to do. So we are brought up to follow a system that has a set of rules that is nothing in harmony with this yes feeling. This yes feeling is our alignment. An organic human being follows their alignment as best as they can. This is why the channeling said about one is not there continuously. We do have to navigate the system. it's difficult to stay within that 100% of the time. Our aim and our intention is to be there 100% of the time, but we need to navigate and we need to do this at our own pace. There's no right or wrong. If you're in alignment 10% of the time, that's what's right for you, and you're working to evolve this. And all healers, people who work with assisting, people who are therapists will all be assisting their clients to move into this energy in whatever way that they do that in their unique way. They'll be assisting them to move into this energy more and more, whether it's through books, videos, music, whatever it is. So that's the yes feeling, that's the resonance, that's the alignment. The aim is to follow that alignment at all times, allow it to be your guidance system, allow it to be your compass. And to work with nature and the natural world, not against the natural world. For example, you could look at our sleep-wake cycle. We have to be at work at 7 o'clock. Our body needs to sleep until 8 o'clock on that particular morning, but we wake up at 7 with an alarm blaring in our ears, or if we're lucky, a nice jingly tune on our mobile, or whatever that wakes us up. The natural cycle, the natural sleep-wake cycle, is very much in alignment with the energies around us. This can be related to the weather, the light, the sun. We are really supposed to wake up with the sun and go to sleep when the sun goes down. Or it may be that we don't tune in on the weather and the light, but we're tuning in on some other rhythm. But it's very much a harmonious sleep-wake cycle. Most people on this planet get up when they're tired and rush around, and they're not woken up gently. So that's just one example of not living within harmony. Taking care of our health is another thing. I have a friend who contacted me today just to let me know that she was walking her dog yesterday. It's a big chocolate Labrador, and her dog, quite a young, still in the puppy stage, it's only a few months old, but it's a big and strong dog. She saw a load of birds and jerked forwards, pulled my friend all down the road, and she has pulled the ligaments in her upper back. She's in a lot of pain. Went to the doctor. Doctor rightly said, take a few days off work. My friend's at work today, 4 hours with all this pain, lifting things. Why did you go to work? I said, I have to. If I don't work, I won't get paid, I won't be able to pay the bills, I can't pay the rent, etc. So this is just one example of the system. We will put the system and the bills and the money before our health, because that's what everyone does. That's what our mother told us to do. That's what our neighbour does. That's what the boss tells us to do. That's the way it is if you're in the system. When you're an organic human being, you will trust and have faith that you can take that day off. You can allow your back to heal. And you know that your bills will be paid because you have trust and faith in the organic process and the natural cycles of life. It's difficult to teach this to people because in the system it's really hard to believe, and it's difficult to get that trust. And it's okay if you don't have that trust. This is something, again, that comes with time. A lot of New Age speakers will tell you to have trust and expect you to have it with the click of your fingers. And that's not really realistic. One works with the trust that one can get, even if it's a little bit. Even if we only trust that maybe we'll be able to pay a quarter of our bill, or maybe we'll be able to defer our bill till next month. We work with whatever trust we can find. Eventually, as we work more and more with this alignment, synchronicity will come into our lives, and we will start to have trust to the point where we have a very high level of trust. And most people here, I'm sure, are already at that stage. In this channeling, in this particular script, it's talking about this energy not usually held continuously. Is that because of the system? Well, no. Yes, on one level it is, but Earth's frequency, the frequency of Earth at the moment, we look at it on a global level, and when we're an organic human and we're working with our alignment, we tune in to the frequency of Earth and humanity. And at the moment, in 2014, it is not sustainable for us to be within this energy 100% of the time, because we need to get higher as a planet. Our energy needs to increase. Some individuals are able to do it, but these are individuals who are away from Western society. Those in Western society who are teaching this energy need to be able to feel what it's like to be back in the third dimension and caught by the system so that they can release out of it again and teach others and assist others. We live in a world of a reality of contrast. So in order to understand white, we need to experience black. So in order to understand what it's like to be 100% connected to this alignment, to this cosmic energy, we need to understand what it feels like to drop it, to move out of it. So it's all part of the global awakening at the moment. But there will come a time where we are 100% in this energy. And that is when we have moved into full realization, full actualization, full ascension. This is also the metaphor is often that comes through from the nine, beyond the theta brainwave state. And what that means is, I'm not that good with brainwave states really, but I know that our general state is alpha or beta, but there is another brainwave state, theta, and this is when we're perhaps in a trance, in meditation, in hypnosis. And then the nine speak to me about beyond the theta brainwave state. Now, I don't believe that this state can be measured. I am told that there are some scientists in Russia who are working with measuring this, so it may well be that this is going to be eventually mainstream understanding, but it certainly isn't at the moment. So what does that mean? Beyond the theta brainwave state is where we don't need to go into a trance, into deep meditation or deep hypnosis. We can, because these are very useful, but we don't need to. We can get into that state while we are fully awake. It's about bringing the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain into balance, and that is when you're in a state of genius flow. When you're in genius flow, you are an organic human being, and you're holding the organic human template and activating the rainbow DNA. What's genius flow? Well, look at Albert Einstein. We know him as a genius, and we often think to ourselves, wow, he was a genius, and I'll never be like that because I'm just an ordinary human being. And the organic template is that of a genius. Every single person is a genius. That is the natural state. It isn't something way beyond us that we can never achieve unless we're called Albert Einstein. It's there for all of us, and it's very natural and normal and simple. It's about accessing this beyond the theta brainwave state, balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain. What that also looks like is the subconscious mind, which is normally at the back, if you like, metaphorically, and the conscious mind is at the fore. So when we go around our day-to-day living, we are consciously focusing and noticing things, and the subconscious is happily working away in the background, taking note of everything. Has a much wider periphery. And then when we go to sleep, that swaps, and the subconscious is at the fore. This is why we dream, and all those things that were being noticed during the day can filter into our dreams, allowing us a wider understanding, that which we may have missed on a conscious level. The conscious mind is sleeping. With the genius flow state, the organic human state, the beyond the theta brainwave state, these two aspects are brought in side by side, if you like. Again, this is metaphoric. So we've got the subconscious mind and the conscious mind side by side. What that looks like in the day is we can be in a deep trance, the same trance one would go in if one was in deep hypnosis while we are fully awake. That is the channeling state. That's the state that I am in when I am channeling. You do feel different. It does feel like a trance, but you're awake. You can go shopping, you can pay your bills, you can do what you like. If you choose, and you learn to be in control of this, you choose to go into that state as and when you please. The reason why we see that as channeling, as in communicating with beings, is because the right hemisphere of the brain presents metaphor and symbolism in order to communicate with the left hemisphere of the brain. So, is there no such thing as beings? Well, from the perspective of looking from the brain, one could say it's simply your brain. there aren't any beings, it's just the way your brain is perceiving the communication that's going on within you. On another level, these beings are real. Yes, they are there. They hold consciousness. That's because they are part of this cosmic web, this cosmic mind, just like we are. They're just non-physical beings. But they're all part of the oneness. We are at one with all physical beings, and we're at one with all non-physical beings. But we choose to individualize as well. So when we are awake, we go into this deep trance while we're awake, and we learn to focus, and we learn to control this. When we're asleep, and we have the two, conscious mind and the subconscious mind equal, we're in a lucid state. So we're having a lucid dream, but we're aware of what's happening. We can control the dream. We can manifest from that place. The law of attraction that we've all heard about works really well when we manifest from the dream state, because the subconscious mind is incredibly powerful when it's linked with the conscious mind and you're controlling the dream. We can have out-of-body experiences, astral projection. All of these are natural byproducts of a spiritual awakening. They are natural abilities that an organic human, a person who is a genius, a person who activates the beyond the theta brainwave state, it's all absolutely natural and normal for these individuals to have these experiences. Another way of explaining this is to talk about the masculine energy, the sacred masculine energy, and the divine feminine energy. It's exactly the same thing as the subconscious, conscious mind, the left hemisphere of the brain, the right hemisphere of the brain. This is a good way to explain alchemy. Alchemy, an ancient, mysterious teaching that only the very select few ever get to learn about. Alchemy is simply exactly what I'm talking about, being an organic human, accessing the beyond the theta brainwave states, activating rainbow DNA, being a genius. So what's happening is you are turning lead into gold, lead being the dormant, non-activated rainbow seed, if you like. The gold is the activated rainbow seed. The lead turning into gold is simply a change within the brain, as in moving into the beyond the theta brainwave state, and a change within the DNA. And it's actually organic. It's actually a physiological change. The cells actually do change shape. They hold much higher levels of light. It isn't really light that we know it on the light bulb, electricity. It is, it's a frequency. It's a frequency, and the nearest word we have to explain this is light. So there's also a certain frequency the whole body gives out when lead has been turned into gold, and it's the frequency that adds up to the golden mean. So if anyone has studied mathematics, the golden mean, the Fibonacci sequence, that is the golden frequency within, and the emotion that comes with the golden activation and the emotion that activates the gold, they both work at the same time. What came first, the chicken or the egg, the emotion or the activation, both simultaneous, is bliss. That's the emotion. It's bliss. So the male and female integration is alchemy. We can talk about this as being an inner marriage, an inner merge. So the male and female, they marry within. So you'll hear a lot of talk about the twin flame counterpart on Earth, and meeting our twin flame. Our true twin flame is ourselves. The divine marriage is the male and the female aspect that's merging within. The twin flame energy is that merge, which is the beyond the theta brainwave state, the activating of the rainbow DNA, the organic human. It's all the same thing, just different metaphors to explain the same process. Having said that, each metaphor holds a slightly different frequency. So you can choose which metaphor you want to work with. The most appropriate metaphor for you is the one that you have conjured up yourself within your own imagination, or the one that you resonate with. That's the most appropriate metaphor for you. Always be what your resonance is telling you, not some teacher, not me, always you. Another way to explain this is to say one has gone galactic. So we can talk of life as being dimensions. So we have the third dimension, this reality, the fourth dimension, which is thinking outside of this reality, knowing that there's more, into the fifth dimension, and exploring that, which is that inner visual, seeing that rainbow, allowing that clairvoyance, allowing that communication to take place with those beings, with that aspect of yourself. Then there is a state that you go beyond that. It's very much a state that is beyond words. It can only really be explained through feeling, through touch, through energy. And that's going galactic, going beyond the fifth dimension. Another way of explaining this is to say one has crossed the rainbow bridge. The rainbow bridge is there's literally a bridge in the brain between the two hemispheres. So that's the physical bridge. In fact, all these metaphors do relate to a physical aspect within the body, on Earth, and within a certain country, within a certain system. There is the metaphor of the crystal palace. And you can use this in meditation. It's a very powerful metaphor, and that's very much for the pineal gland, the activation of the brow chakra. There really is a little gland inside the brain. And I don't know if any of you are aware, but when scientists dissected the pineal gland of a human, they found optic nerves inside that pineal gland, tiny little optic nerves that are identical to the optic nerves in our eye. So the scientists are thinking, well, why are there optic nerves deeply buried inside the brain when optic nerves are there so you can see? Well, of course, spiritually aware people are fully aware of what the pineal gland signifies. And when you see that symbol, the Eye of Horus, these are ancient symbols, ancient metaphors that have been kept from the masses. They've been kept from us. These secret societies, people know them as the Illuminati or the Cabal, they've kept these sacred symbols and these mystery truths to themselves. And now it's time for us all to know. It's time for us all to discover this information and share it. It is the time of the unveiling. That which has been hidden shall come to light. That's not just the information, but that's the people. The star seeds, the organic individuals, the organic human beings have been hidden. They're now coming out to light. Like me is one of them. I was very hidden and wanted to stay that way. But here I am out there, and it's the same with all of you in this room. So the great unveiling, that which has been hidden shall come to light, that's all happening now. And it's time to decode the metaphor. All these metaphors that we've had since the beginning of time, the Bible story, the Eve taking the apple from the tree, and the snake, and everything that we've ever known. Our nursery rhymes when we were children. Or the fairy stories, were all channeled from Grimm's fairy tales, all channeled material. All of this is being decoded so that we can process and understand what all this means. I do have an awful lot more written here, about this particular piece here, but I'm not sure what time are we at. Can anyone tell me?
20 to 9.
It's 20 to 9. Okay. Do you want me to carry on, or would you like me to stop there and open to questions? What would you prefer?
Carry on.
Okay. There was one thing I wanted to talk about, which is actually quite interesting. And it's about the systems and setups that are designed to block the activation of the rainbow DNA. And I discovered this firsthand myself. Last December, I was taken into hospital because I was having a very rapid heartbeat. My heart rate was above 200 beats a minute, and it went on and off for 6 hours. I was in an accident and emergency. I was diagnosed with SVT, supraventricular tachycardia, and I was given beta blockers. Now, I never take medication, not even a paracetamol, but the whole experience had been so frightening, and I was very much sort of cut off from my guidance system through fear. And my sister was saying to me, take them, they're only beta blockers, it's fine. So I took them. And I was on them from the beginning of January, and I weaned myself off them with the help of a wonderful herbalist and lots of good friends. I weaned myself off them in May. But I went through an incredible learning experience while I was on them. when I was taking the higher dose, which is actually quite a small dose according to the doctors, but for me it was a massive dose, I found that something had changed with my connection. The clairvoyance had dimmed, so I wasn't seeing bright, vivid colour when I was communicating with the nine. I was seeing a pale version of that. Quite unsettling, really, having been talking to them for 20 years, and I really took it for granted, so it really taught me how special that is when it was gone. And then the hearing, luckily, wasn't affected. I could still hear them clairvoyantly, clairaudiently. But it wasn't for about a week or so. I kept thinking, what is it that's different? What is it that I'm missing here? And then I woke up one morning and I sat upright and I knew. It was the clairsentience, it was the feeling, it had gone. I couldn't feel the nine. I couldn't feel the energy anymore. I could see it in a dimmed way. I could hear the words, but I couldn't feel. I was in a terrible state of panic. It was like discovering I'd lost my leg or arm or something. But the nine, luckily, I could hear them, would talk me through this, and they would explain that this had happened for a reason, and that I was to go with this, to trust, and that I would be guided through it, and all those things. So I did. I now know that beta blockers, and this is just one medication. I know that there are many different medications that can do similar things in different ways. Beta blockers block the adrenaline from going into the area of the body where there's a beta receptor, which you have in the brain and heart. So prevented adrenaline from going into the heart and triggering a fast, rapid heartbeat. But there are beta receptors in the brain as well. And what I felt was, if I was to look at this metaphorically, it was like I was stood on one side of that parallel. Because when I view the metaphor of the rainbow bridge, you see, say, the third dimension and the fifth dimension with a bridge connecting the two. What this really is the one aspect of the brain, the left side, the bridge connecting to the right hemisphere, or the subconscious and the conscious is a better way to explain it. That bridge, it's not a linear thing. It's not like you're here and there's a bridge and then you go there. It's all merged together. So you are in the left hemisphere, the right hemisphere, and the bridge at the same time. It's all one. This had moved out for me, and it was almost as though the bridge had gone. So I could see the other aspect, but I couldn't access it. What had happened to me is I was no longer able to bring the conscious mind and the subconscious mind together side by side. They were like this, like most of the non-organic human individuals who aren't able to access that state. So when I talk about when the nine talk about the systems and setups being there to block the process, one way it's done is through medication. Another way, and maybe not all, and I'm not saying people should come off medication, because medication may be necessary and may be needed, and it is obviously down to each individual to go with their own alignment in this. But for me personally, and I know for many sensitive individuals who are connected, they would probably find that there's some prevention, some cut-off, and it can be done through food, the education system, the health service, the systems, the army, whichever system you wish to look at. And is this deliberate? Well, unfortunately, the answer to that is yes. There are groups that are fully aware of this awakening, and they want to stop it, because they won't be able to control the masses anymore when these individuals wake up. When one realises this, one can get quite sad, quite frightened, quite angry, want to do something about it, but there is another way of looking at this. We're all one, and we chose to experience a separation from Source in order to move back to Source. In this reality, it's a reality of contrast. How can we know what it feels like to truly merge and be at one with Source, activate the intact memory of being at one with Source, unless we've been cut off from Source? So the whole plan on one level, and this is what I mean about it being multi-perspectives, on one level we all chose to experience this. Does that make it right? Should we sit there and think, well, it's fine that the Illuminati have kept all this from us, isn't there no problem, we chose it? No, not from the linear point of view. From the linear point of view, we need to do something about it. We need to make sure everyone finds the truth, and that this world changes, and that people wake up, and that the control is stopped. That's on the physical level. But we don't have to live within that fierce determination that can be anger and fear. We move up into, but we chose this. So we embrace both at the same time. That's not easy. But when you're an organic human, you are able to do this. You are able to navigate the system and move in and out. Another part of the information talking about embracing challenges and how challenges on all levels for the rainbow aware ones will come. And yet there is learning. The information actually said it acts as a booster signal. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is when a challenge comes into your life, you can approach this in sort of two ways, many ways, but two predominantly. One can be, oh no, this is awful, I can't bear it. Why has this happened to me? It's just not fair, it's just not on, and all that kind of thing. Or, which is much harder, but once we're used to it, it becomes familiar, it becomes easy, the brain knows what it's doing. We can think, okay, I've got a massive challenge here, let's try and work with this. Thank you for the challenge, be in gratitude for your life's process. There is an old Zen saying that says, whenever life presents a challenge, there's a gift in the palm of its hand. This is absolutely true. It's absolutely correct. Every challenge. And sometimes we can't see that gift. We can't believe that there's a gift. When I was on the beta blockers and I'd had that SVT experience, I couldn't see the gift. Because I'm aware of the teachings, I knew that there was one, but it took me a while to find it. It's there now, it's taught me so much, and I'm out there talking about it, and I've been through a great experience. But it's not easy to see that as a gift when you're lying on the sofa and you're frightened of, all these other challenges that can occur. But what actually happens is when we do look for the gift, and when we find the gift, what we've done is integrated the challenge. We've integrated it into our life, so it no longer feels like a challenge. It just feels like our life. And this acts as a booster signal to our growth. The way the Nine explained this to me is almost as though if you were to take an arrow and just set it on a course and it was to just slowly just go across like this, it would be steady and flowing and off it would go. If you were an archer and you took that arrow, you would pull the arrow back and then let it go and it would shoot across much, much faster. The pulling back action of the arrow is the integration of the challenge. When you discover the gift and you've integrated the challenge, you are shooting your arrow forward quickly. So you're back on your path, quickly, fast, and growth and learning comes with you. This is why it feels to us, from this perspective, like we're moving in and out. And it stops and we think, oh, I've lost it, I'm not on track, I've missed the ascension, everyone else is really spiritually advanced and I'm just lost. Many people feel this way. But when you really take a look at things, it's not possible for you to be lost. Once you're aware of the enlightenment process, once you're aware of who you are and what you are as a human being, you're in it. You can never be lost. But it does feel like you've lost it for a while. That's the pulling back. So look for the gift, integrate the challenge, and your arrow will shoot ahead. And there's another way of looking at this, a different metaphor, and that's very much sort of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. 2 steps forward and 1 step back. You're always going forward, but you're constantly pulling back a little bit. That's a rhythm, a natural organic rhythm. And if you look at some of the natural cycles within our planet, they do move a little bit like this. That's from the Nine. I can't actually give you any examples of that because I don't know, but maybe somebody who is more scientifically minded would know. But that's what happens. We pull back and it shoots us forward. So challenges, they can be really, really tough for us, really, really hard. And it's okay if it takes you months to work out why you had a challenge and to integrate it. There's no time limit. And people who are spiritually aware will give themselves time limits and think, I should have sorted this out within a week. There's no time limit, only yourself. The time that you integrate the challenge is the time that you should have integrated the challenge. The other thing I did want to talk about was really about how one creates the organic human being. There are many names for the organic human. You'll have heard of some: starseed, activated ones, aware ones, golden ones, shining ones, way showers, map makers, old souls, wanderers, light workers. Many, many names for these individuals. And what is so interesting, and one must think multidimensionally to kind of get this, is everyone on the planet is one of these individuals. Everyone on the planet is an organic human being. Everyone on the planet is a starseed, an ET soul, from another planet. Every single one of us. And you'll hear lots of talk about, when you go into a spiritual journey, you'll hear lots of talk, especially on the internet, about different ET souls and races and past lives and all these things. They're all true, but everyone, every single person is this. But it's to do with our consciousness and our awareness as to when we create it. So it's all to do with time. This sort of junk DNA, if you like, this rainbow DNA, is out of time. And we are in time. We're experiencing linear time. So the way to create this organic human template, this starseed ET aspect of ourselves, is to create it from the now. We do this with our past lives as well. So what I'm trying to say is, when an individual is born, when they don't have awareness of being connected to Source, and they're in a state of separation, they're not a starseed. They're not an organic human being. They're a non-organic, out-of-balance human being. And there are many, many of these people on this planet. And they may well remain that way for the whole of their lifetime, and for several lifetimes. When you get to the point where you are aware and you start to think multidimensionally, you start to activate the beyond the theta brainwave state, move into that genius flow, all those things that I've said, you then move beyond the linear. And beyond the linear, you are always a starseed. You are always an organic human. You are always an ET soul, a wanderer, a way shower, whatever word you wish to use. So the awareness draws that reality into your linear process. You then become a starseed, and you've been one since you were born. But you've only been one since you were born, since you became aware, because everything is created from the now. The reason why I'm telling you this is you can change your entire reality when you understand this. It's time travel. That's what it is. It's time travel. People say, does time travel exist? Well, not the way that they think it does. We don't get into a little machine and go back 200 years and get out of our machine like H.G. Wells. Does time travel exist? Absolutely, yes. It's within the consciousness. And it's a personal, subjective experience. And we do this ourselves when we learn about our own awakening. It's all done from this one point, the now moment, the 0 point. That is what is meant in this information about memory intact. The memory intact is the precursor seed. And then the rainbow DNA awakens, or the seed is watered. The memory intact, when we look at memory, we're looking at what has gone before, we're looking at remembering the past. But memory intact is knowing that it isn't the past. We know it's the past from a linear point of view, or the future from a linear point of view, but memory intact brings us to now. We remember being source, energy. Every single one of us used to be source, used to be God. And before we were incarnated in human form, we were source frequency. And we were a oneness, we were a sea of consciousness. And we wanted to know if we were conscious. We didn't know if we were conscious or not. We could hear ourselves thinking and feeling, but we didn't know if we were conscious. So we wished to experience all and everything. We wished to experience every single experience, every vibration, every frequency, so we could discover if we were conscious or not. And that's why this energy is projected forth into all of us, so that we are still discovering that never-ending question, the unanswerable question, are we conscious? We still haven't answered it. We are constantly evolving into answering that question. When I talk about memory, we can look at that in a linear process and think, I remember being Source before I was me. But intact memory is, I merge with Source. This is what the meditation was about. I am Source now. It's not something that happened at the beginning of time, before the Big Bang. It's happening right now. That moment when Source consciousness said, I wish to experience all and everything, is happening now. It's a never-ending moment. So we take ourselves back to that perspective. That's when we have intact memory. That is when we activate the seed. That's when we water the seed. That's when the rainbow DNA starts to activate. And that really does happen within our bodies. This light floods into our cells. Many people know this as the light body. And that's exactly what it is. It's a body of light within us. It doesn't mean we're going to start glowing like light. We might well start glowing one day. And there are speakers out there. I recently listened to William Henry talk, who does a lot of this research, and he said he believes that the glowing rainbow body of light is actually a glowing body of light. He may well be right. I haven't had that answer yet, and when I do speak to the 9 about this, they just laugh in a way that means to me, it isn't about knowing what's going to happen, it's about you creating what you want. If we, as humanity, as a consciousness, want to have a glowing body, physically, we will. If we all want the same thing, we can all have whatever we want. And that's what critical mass means. And there is one other thing that the 9 were saying to me earlier today when I was going through these notes. And they were talking about, I've got so many notes here, I'll be here all night. So I'll have to whiz through them. One of the things they were talking about is the critical mass level and where we are with this activation. There is another activation, it's another way of explaining this metaphor, and that is to use the metaphor, the diamond light. So we've got the rainbow light codes and the diamond light codes. It's very much the same thing, but as I said before, each metaphor has a slightly different frequency. So you choose the metaphor you want to use. The 9 say to me that the diamond is the apex of the rainbow. It's the conduit of the rainbow. If you were to hold a diamond up and allow sunlight to stream into that diamond and then hold the diamond against the wall, you would see the light spectrum shooting through that diamond. You would see rainbow lights on that wall. So the diamond and the rainbow are one, they're just different perspectives of that light, if that makes sense. And the rainbow frequency here in the year 2014 is at critical mass level. Critical mass level means once it gets to a certain level, once a certain amount of people, and I really don't know the exact figure, it's different for each concept, once a particular frequency or energy or concept or idea or thought reaches critical mass level, there's a certain amount of people that are thinking that thought, then it starts to manifest, it starts to actually occur. So the rainbow light codes and the rainbow frequency is at critical mass level and has recently reached critical mass level in this year. The diamond light codes and the diamond frequency is set to reach critical mass level in 2016. The reason why we look at this in a linear way is because it's the most probable timeline for humanity, depending on where our thought process is. This is when we look within the linear. When we go back to that intact memory, that 0 point, the rainbow frequency and the diamond light is fully activated now. But that's a subjective perception. And in order to create critical mass for 2016, we need to get the subjective perception now. It was exactly the same with 2012. In 2010 and 2009 and 2011, we needed to get the understanding of the 2012 energy before it happened in order to create it. It sounds complicated, but it's just moving in and out of these two different perspectives. One is the linear perspective, the third dimensional human perspective, very important. That's the ego self, if you like, very important. We couldn't function without it. We must think in a linear way in order to live in this world. And then we move into the multidimensional perspective, the fifth dimension and beyond, if you like. And that's when we come into intact memory and the oneness, where everything's already happened. Everything. So we work in both these places, from both these perspectives, in order to navigate our reality. The particular energy, the diamond light energy, there's going to be a massive influx of diamond-activated children around March and May 2016, and when this occurs, we're looking at 80 to 90% of all babies born on planet Earth holding the diamond light potential. The diamond light is always a potential because it has to activate. It isn't activated the minute the baby is born. It's held as a matrix around the baby, and it needs to be nurtured by the caregivers and the environment. This is why the rainbow energy is building systems and setups in order to hold the frequency for the new incoming rainbow souls and the new incoming diamond light souls. It's the systems and setups that we are creating. We don't even ever have to meet the baby. We could be living on the other side of the planet to the baby. The thing is, we do meet the babies because they're all our descendants. And I was also told that tonight at the Highcliffe and New Forest Positive Living group, every single person in the room, each one of you will have a child, a grandchild, a niece or nephew of the diamond light. I know you haven't got any children or nieces or nephews, but I have one day. So maybe that doesn't include you at the moment. And that's what they said. Everyone in the room has a child, a grandchild, a niece or nephew that holds the diamond light. And if you are an intuitive, you will know that about that child. You will know that that baby has that frequency. Because they're coming in where there is some point of reference to that child where that diamond light potential can be nurtured. So it may not always be a relative, it may be a particular teacher that they're going to meet at school, but often it's a grandparent, it's an aunt, it's an uncle, it's someone, and these children don't need to see these particular adults every day. Sometimes it is a parent and they are with them every day. As long as they have that person coming into their lives, just holding them, playing with them, is activating keys and codes and frequencies. There is so much going on an energetic level that we aren't always aware of. And that when we're down within the third dimensional perspective, I say down, I mean when we're in the third dimensional perspective, we aren't always aware of that energetic reality. When we come up into that beyond the theta brainwave state, into the intact memory and organic human, we can feel that energy. There's so much, behind the scenes action going on, if you like, as in, okay, this person's here, this baby's going to be born there, this person's going to be this baby's grandparent, this person's going to see this baby once a month till this time, and it's all planned, it's all being orchestrated from the perspective of being outside of this planet. But that orchestrator, if there is such a word, that architect, that designer, is you. It can be no one but you. You're the one designing the whole thing. You're not just designing your own life, you're designing the whole planet's life. The whole of the planet and all of humanity is down to you. And that's why it's so important to be in alignment. Because from the perspective of the higher light, there's only one soul in incarnation, and that is you.
Thank you so much, Magenta.
Thank you. Gateways within, gateways within, gateways within, gateways within. Come with me on a euphoric voyage.